get to? And what did this world do to you? What'll it take to get you through? And how long has this had a hold on you?
Hello and welcome. Another edition of Addicted2. So I got my good friend Danny here, and we're going to talk about his secret sauce for success is sobriety. Welcome, Danny.
Thank you.
So just to give a little bit of a prelude there of what we were talking about, you have multiple years. I can't remember exactly how much time you have.
31.
31 years. Congrats. That's not a small achievement. So maybe you can just run us a little bit through your backstory and a little bit about your journey to get to the 31 years and a little bit of your experience. We were talking a little bit about just before the show about the serenity portion, and I know you struggled as I did a little bit with that too. So if you could just elaborate a little bit on that, that'd be great.
Yeah. Thanks, Sean. Danny, addict alcoholic. Yeah, I mean, it's typical addict alcoholic story. Maybe not typical, but mine was. It was rather violent. So, but not to spend too much. It was enough for me to hit my bottom. Spent time in jail. Drugs were a big part of my story. A lot of just a lack of morals. Grew up in a dysfunctional family, so I had an incredible lack of morals and just didn't understand the human psyche very well. Was incredibly insecure, and that drove me to drugs and alcohol to ease the pain that I didn't understand. And there was a lot I didn't understand, but I guess that's how a lot of us end up going down the drug and alcohol route. And mine got really dark, but I end up, long story short, I did hit a bottom, ended up in treatment in Revelstoke, BC in July 8th, 1993. And it changed my life from there. I mean, I went in there, it was a wreck. I was contemplating suicide, got into treatment. And my main focus was when I went in there is I thought, well, all I need to do is deal with the drugs and the alcohol, get them under control, and then I can go back to. I didn't think I would ever have to stop them forever. I didn't think that was an issue. I just thought I needed to control my use.
Well, we always like to think that we'll live to fight another day.
Yeah.
We don't really want to accept the fact that in order to surrender, it's got to be over.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it's a good thing I didn't know that going in, because I actually had drugs on me when I was going to the detox, and I called up a guy and I says, as I was going through Salmon Arm, I said, swing by Salmon Arm and I'll give these to you and I'll pick them up when I'm done and we'll carry on, because I just assumed that it would be business as usual and I wouldn't be doing all my stash. So I kind of thought I was going to get control of my addiction. But I learned soon that it was abstinence. So much more I learned in the treatment center. I learned about being a higher power, got my understanding. I think it was key for me in my early recoveries, because I had a religion. And so somehow I jumped on it because of the religious background, which was warped as hell, but it somehow got me into the spiritual part, because I thought, well, I've already got a foot in the door. So I thought the spirituality thing will be easy. But it wasn't, because if you approach spirituality from a religious standpoint, you miss the spirituality, because religious, I found, is full of judgment and condemnation, and spirituality is just about love. It's love.
So just to clarify a little bit, so you were brought up with a religious background.
Yes. Yeah.
So I wasn't. And just an observation I've made is anybody that I've spoken to in a 12-step program has a lot of resentment against that because it always seemed forced. And yeah, I remember even my grandmother was very, very, she had a strong faith, but yet she believed if you didn't have your ass in the seat on Sunday, you basically were going to burn and go to hell. It was all fear-based.
And I think that's what drove me away from it. And I think that's what drives everybody away from it.
I think so too.
Because what's the last thing an addict's afraid of is death. I mean, we face it every day. You take that hit, it could be your last. You drink and drive or whatever you do. Death is not a deterrent for an addict or an alcoholic. It's not. So when you see, and what was it, the realization that the difference between religion and spirituality is simple. Religious is somebody telling you what to do, how to do it, how to get to heaven, how to behave. Spirituality, you find your own way. You discover your own truth. Spirituality, you meditate. You find out who you are, right? You find out, you don't go by these 10, you go by what you know in your heart. You don't need 10 commandments to know how to behave properly in society. People seem to think they need to be told what to do. Do you need to be told not to kill somebody? Do you need to be told not to rape somebody? Do you need to be told not to steal from somebody? These things are naturally within every single one of us. They're written in our hearts. We don't need them in a book. When you go to a preacher and you seek deliverance, they're telling you that you're flawed. You're broken and you need fixing. Spirituality is you're divine from birth. Gods and goddesses from the get-go.
Well,
you have nothing to prove, in spirituality. So you make mistakes. Mistakes are fixable. Right?
Well, there's supposed to be some forgiveness there. From my understanding of it, is basically, the error is human, basically. We aren't perfect, even though, if I get a nose full or snoot full or whatever, I sure think I am. I'm indestructible. I'm infallible. I don't make any mistakes. It's all the rest of the world's fault. Why I'm in the pickle I'm in. If only people would do as I told them to do and all of that. But, just getting back to the religious part, I often joke that many people, and I don't want to offend anybody, but many people have different faiths. But, Catholic, for instance, basically come at it from, you can be any faith you want, but the only one that really counts is ours. We've got the Pope. And, every faith seems to not be able to accept the other person's point of view. And let's face it, throughout the whole world, there's wars over it. Believe whatever you want to believe. We're all brothers. And if your guy happens to be Buddha and brown and sitting down and my guy is white and on the cross, hey, like you say, there should be some commonalities there. But again, when you become in the 12-step, I think that's enough to scare a lot of people away too, because they say it's spiritual, but they still use the God word in there, which I personally think they should probably take it out. It doesn't offend me. But if you're really going to be spiritual based, then it really doesn't have a place to be in there. That's just my opinion. And I'm not, here to say that there's anything wrong with any of the programs that are using it.
Well, and I think that's the difference between religion and spirituality. Religion is, it's about, it's too segregated. It's about separation. If you're within the church or you're within that specific religious organization, you're okay. If you're outside of it, you're not okay.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't accept Christ, if you don't do things a certain way, you're going to hell. Spirituality is, nobody's going to hell because there is no hell. Spirituality is universal acceptance. You're human, I'm human. You're a child of the Creator, so am I. We're all one. There is no separation. Separation is a lie. And when we keep reinforcing the lie of separation, it just causes dissension because we're always trying to be better than one another. That's how come the program works in its true, purest form, right? The program works because it's principles before personalities. If you take the program at its heart and you embrace it, it's principles before personalities. That means Buddy can come in there and it's the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. So anybody can come in here.
Well, let's
drunk
just
or
to
not.
clarify, we're not really here to promote any certain. I'm just going to refer to it as a 12-step program.
Yeah, but they're all the 12 steps in any, whether it's gambling, sex,
drugs,
you name it. They're all the same.
Yeah,
They're all the same.
Yeah.
So my reference to them is not, I don't want to prejudice anything. It's just a reference to the fact that the 12-step spiritual program is about acceptance. And that's what spirituality, and that's why I like it. Because true spirituality to me is universal. You're my brother. Everyone, we're all waves in an ocean, right? We're all unique individual waves, but we're still in the ocean. We're still part of the ocean. We're all connected symbiotically, just like the mycelium in the earth. We're all connected. So I think when we get to that and understand that, there's none of this, nobody's going to hell. It's like, if I do something wrong, my consequences prove me. Like I'm the victim. My consequences are my own hell, right? I don't need a hell. My consequences are them. So I have to do. I do what makes me feel right. I do what's the best part of me. What I want to be, the best part of Danny. I want to be the best part of Danny. So as I progress from this point on, I want that to be the best part of me. And that, to me, in spirituality, I can do that. Because in a spiritual aspect, I'm going to make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes. The spiritual aspect where I am at right now is I understand that my darkness is there, but it's still part of me, right? I can't say, I have to embrace. It's like I've learned that the only way to defeat the devil is to embrace him, right? Because the devil's within me. The yin, the yang, the dark, the light. It's all one. It's all connected. Right?
Well, that's basically part of my theory is you've got the higher power, and I believe the lower power is what's driving the urge.
Yeah.
That's that part of you that kind of sits deep in your soul that's pushing you to have the drink, to gamble, to have the cigarette, to have that other piece of chocolate cake when you're on a diet. It's trying to, and I think once you make that connection, you've created flow for that energy.
Yes.
Right?
Like energy attracts like energy.
Yeah. And so if you become disconnected from the higher power, in my case, I use the sun. I pray out the back window whenever I see it, which hasn't been too much lately, but I still point in the same direction. But I swear that when I close my eyes and do my little thing in the morning, I can feel it get warmer and I can feel it get brighter. And I think what it is it's filling me up and then it's charging my battery. And if you let your battery wind down because you disconnect it, you become isolated, if you get angry, certain behaviors will disconnect you from it, and then you're more susceptible to the negative energy. And either one will flow, but we're all susceptible to our mood swings, and when we're vulnerable and at our weakest, that's when it's coming to get you.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about spirituality. It deals with energy. And when you walk into spirituality, you see yourself as a being of energy. And so as you walk through life, you try to maintain the highest level of energy that you possibly can, because like energy does attract like energy. So when you give in to those lower energies, yes, they will attract other lower energies. And so I look at things as energy now.
So was that, when, just to backtrack a little bit, when you were in rehab, like that was the first time?
Yes.
And so were you making these connections then?
No.
Or did it? No. So it took you a while to get this.
Oh, yes.
So when you came out of that, I mean, you've got 31 years. So
well, I had a basic understanding of that. The Creator. I had an understanding of the Creator, and basically, I think it's a seed is planted and it takes time to grow. Like my ego had to die, not die, or it basically had to become less important because I find that when your ego rules, you live in fear, right? And I had to learn that there was nothing to fear and that I created fear, but it was a process, right? And the more and more and more I gained control over my fear, the more my spirituality grew. Because I think fear, like you said, there's certain things in our life that cut us off from source, right? Fear is one of them because the source doesn't recognize fear. It didn't give us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of love and a power of a sound mind. So we are in his likeness. There's nothing to fear. We're God.
But
you know, if someone's pointing a gun at you, yes, be afraid of that. You know, or not necessarily death, because I don't believe we die, but a lot of the fears that I create, right, they're unfounded. Right?
Oh, like, I mean, that's the whole premise, I think, for addiction is we've suffered some trauma. And no matter what it is, it could be different for you or me.
Yes.
But the underlying symptom of it is fear. We don't think we fit. And we do.
Think we're broken. We believe we're broken.
I remember as a kid, whenever my mom would say that we were going to have a family function with my grandparents and aunts and uncles, I would be just vibrating. And then by the time I got there, you know, we'd be eating and everybody be drinking, but for the most part, it was a good time. And I used to think, like, why do I get so apprehensive about it? And I still, I don't really have an answer for it, but it, just like you were saying, we create our own situations in our head. The squirrels were going around the wheel before we ever touched any external substances. So, you know, I think some of it is environmental or some of it's already maybe an inborn thing. I'm not sure. But just getting back to the rehab. So was that that wasn't, I'm guessing your one and only time in a rehab?
Yeah.
Oh, it was?
Yes.
Oh, because I've never been. So you went to the rehab for like a month or?
I was in Kamloops. It was called Kiwanis Center or Kiwanis Treatment Center. Not a treatment center. It was like a halfway house. So I spent 2 weeks in detox, Kamloops. It was Phoenix Detox in Kamloops. Then the Kiwanis Treatment Center, I was in there for 6 weeks because they held me. They were going to let me go back to Revelstoke for 2 weeks. And I says, please, no. Like, I was fucking terrified. Like, if I go back to Revelstoke, I didn't feel right. I was scared.
That's where you grew up and that's where you knew.
Well, it's just, I knew enough not to go back to Revelstoke. Well, no, I didn't grow up. Born and raised in Calgary, was in Revelstoke since 93 or 92, sorry. 92 I got there.
But that's where your life kind of...
That's where I cleaned up, yeah.
Oh, that's where you cleaned up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I cleaned up. But yeah, so then I went to Kamloops for Kelowna for 1 month, and that was Crossroads. So a total of 3 months treatment.
And then once you got that...
Then I went right back into a crack shack.
You went and picked up your stash from your buddy and...
No, I didn't pick that up, but I ended up in a crack shack because I didn't have my place anymore. And they moved all my shit that I had. They moved it into this... It was a mobile home, right? And there was basically a mud shack on the side of the mobile home with my bed in there and my couch. That's where I stayed. Middle of fucking winter, little heater, and I stayed in there. And they smoked crack inside. Like all I could smell was a freebase the whole time I was up there. So it was interesting, but I stayed sober.
You stayed sober?
Yeah. I stayed sober. I don't know. I was blessed. There were some things I wasn't blessed with, but wasn't aware of them. I had other addictions too at the time, but I wasn't ready to deal with them. Wasn't really aware of them as an addiction yet. But yeah, it's funny. You go in there and you deal with that one thing, and then there's other things. But what I did deal with gave me some measure of success in life. I didn't drink I didn't use, but I was what they call a dry drunk for years.
Just not.
Yeah, basically money became my higher power. I chased money.
How long did it take? I'd like to know, how long did it take for the light to come on, and what did you do to finally find, like, to me, serenity is the holy grail of what we're really trying to achieve, because we can put down cigarettes, or it doesn't matter, booze, drugs, overeating, whatever it is. But that's just the part of it. Like, to me, the holy grail is serenity. Because if you're not happy, what's really the point? Like, and I lived like that for 10 years, where it was just as bad as being in my addiction. And that's when I was realizing, what am I doing? Like, I'm not, I came in thinking that if I put everything down, that would fix all my problems. And I'm not saying to anybody, don't do it. Of course, but it's a step. Then you've got to find out, deal with all your demons, and then you've got to find out what are you going to do with the rest of your life. Now you've got decisions to make, because I was talking to a buddy of mine this morning, and all the time that we used to spend chasing money or avoiding emotional relationships and trying to score, and that all took a lot of time. And then you get into sobriety, and you're trying to figure out, what am I doing with all this time? And that's when the squirrel starts rolling around in the head. But the answer is, you can do anything you want, but it doesn't occur to us. You know what I mean? Like, what did you experience that finally turned the light on and say, listen, you can, like, what was it that you found?
I had to hit another bottom.
Emotionally?
Well, no, it was another addiction that came to the head. I had to deal with a sexual addiction. But anyways, it brought me to another bottom. And I had to surrender, completely surrender. And basically it boils down to, I had to change everything. I had to change what I was doing. And I'm doing this today, because we get structured in our patterns and our behaviors. And this new term that you'll be hearing a lot now, it's called epigenetics. And it's when you do something a number of times, your brain actually forms like neural pathways to doing that behavior. So that behavior becomes almost like second nature. So when we want to change our behavior, it becomes really hard, because we've got actual neural pathways in our brains that have been formed because of this repeated behavior.
It's like you've walked that path, so that you've left a trail.
It's just natural.
So you're not going to go veer off 2 feet from it. You're going to keep going on that trail that you know.
Hence the term, if nothing changes, nothing changes. You have to start changing your patterns of behavior associated with that behavior for you to start getting results. Because if you don't, you're going to naturally progress to that, because that's what you know. So you have to diligently start working at changing those patterns of behaviors. If you turn left all the time, maybe turn right. Just start changing things, subtle things, whatever, major things. If your failure always comes, and change that, and there'll be obvious to you. And what it boils down to is, you're going to know what to do. It's whether you want to do it or not, right? It's about being honest with yourself. It's about coming to terms with, okay, I can change this. I know I can change this, right? You just have to be willing, to make the moves to do it. Does it mean, okay, now I got to change something. I've got to change my behavior. What I'm doing is not working. I keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. They call that insanity, I heard, right? It is. So I have to change those patterns of behavior. So that's what I'm doing now. And even in my life now, I'm changing those patterns of behavior. I don't look at things like I used to. Like when I'd struggle in an area, I used to beat myself up. And what I've learned now is that which I judge, I hate. And that which I hate, I can't love. So I can't judge myself anymore, because if I'm judging myself, I'm hating myself. And if I hate myself, I can't love myself. And I can't judge my brothers and sisters either, because if I'm judging them, I can't love them either. Anyone I judge, I can't love, right?
Well, a big trick that I found that works for me, along with, getting up earlier, working out, and having more time in the morning, is I pretend I'm on vacation. Because when I'm on vacation, I'm relaxed. If the bus is late for the tour we're going on, I don't care. You roll with the punches. You're like, okay, oh well. You're not necessarily worried about traffic. You're not necessarily worried about time. We have so much emphasis on time. Time is money. Time is this. Time, we don't know how much time we have. So how do you know how much it's worth? You can't measure it. But it's beaten into our head. Time is money. Yeah, I get it. At work, time is money, but we don't know when to turn it on and when to turn it off. And if it takes me 30 minutes to drive to the job, or it takes me 45 minutes, it doesn't matter. The world's still going to spin. So I think what I've learned as a coping mechanism, which again, we don't talk a lot about. I've heard so many people talking about traffic and it's driving everybody nuts. But it took me over 10 years to find out the traffic's not going to go away. So learn to cope with it. And I think that in itself, it drove me, it took me 12 years to figure that out, but I'm finally getting the lights turning on. You've got what you're saying too, is we've got to somehow teach ourselves, I guess, how normal people live, because this stuff doesn't seem to bother normal people, but I don't really know that many normal people that I can ask.
Yeah, I don't know of anybody that doesn't get mad in traffic.
But the thing is,
not anymore, but I used to.
Getting mad at traffic for the past 40 years hasn't fixed it. So
I think, and that's just it. I think what I found was too is, yes, it was finally. I think I convinced myself for years and years, I can't do this. I can't do this. This is just the way I am. That's who I am. That's who I am. I took a stance that I was powerless over who I was, until I realized that I had power over who I was, and that I had power to change, and had that power to be a different person. And I couldn't change until I accepted the fact that I had the power. So when I'm in traffic, and I'm allowing myself to become that, person, that is just exactly it. I'm allowing myself. So I have to know that I have control, and I have choice, and I have the right to exercise that choice. So when I accept the fact that I have that choice, and I continue to behave like that, I know I'm doing it because it's a choice, right? And when I keep doing things I don't want to do, and I realize it's a choice, eventually it stops, right? It's like taking a glass full of muddy water and pouring clean water into it. It's going to be dirty at first, but the more clean water you pour into it, eventually it's going to run clean. And I feel that's the way spirituality works. We're going to have these issues. We're going to have these struggles. But as we recognize them and be honest with ourselves and say, yes, I struggle in traffic. Yes, I do this. Yes, I do that. Own our shit. Own our darkness. When we own that darkness, then it's going to change. It comes to light. Secrets don't last long. When the secrets come to the light, those things that we bring them to the light. We expose them. We go, this is what I got to deal with. We do start to deal with them in time, and it doesn't have to be done overnight, but we automatically start changing our behaviors when we become honest enough to recognize them and say, yes, this is what I'm doing. And it just starts to change. That's what I found anyway.
So do you over the years, do you find that you actually stop and count, or stop or breathe, or
Techniques, you mean?
yeah, just
Oh, yes, meditate. Oh, for that, I don't have to anymore. I just understand that it's a choice, right? I'm giving my power. Every time I get angry, I'm giving my power away, right? To something I have no control over. So I just became very clear with myself about what my boundaries should be and what my rules of engagement should be in life.
So as soon as you started to catch yourself,
Yes, and it takes time, but now I'm getting very good at it. But yeah, at first it was hard. It was a struggle. You know, it's like giving your will, giving your will away and taking it back. It's like a tug of war. But eventually I got stronger because I was determined that, it was something I wanted to go in this direction. I didn't want my behavior or my ego's need to be there on time, or to be the first, or to understand, who am I to know how everybody else should behave in traffic? All of a sudden I became the God on the road, and who are they? Don't they know who I am? Just this whole mentality. So I guess it was just a process of me saying, no, enough is enough. I have no control over anything I have no control over. I have to come to the stance of as soon as possible, because I understand that as long as I remain in that position where I'm angry over something I have no control over, I'm going to be angry for no reason at all. And I'm just basically giving my peace and serenity away over something I can just say, nope.
and they couldn't care less because they don't know. They
don't
can't
care.
hear you and they can't see you.
So you have to get to that point immediately where you say, no, I'm not letting my power. That person, they'll never sit down and have a meal with me. They'll never go to coffee with me. I'll never break bread with them, nothing. I will maybe never see them again. Yeah, I'm going to give them all my happiness, just like that. Poof. It makes no sense. So now, yeah, I work desperately hard on keeping my peace and happiness.
Well, it makes no sense. But what you were saying before, I think it's the path well traveled. We've been on it so many times. The minute you get into the car or the truck and start to go, you're like, okay, there it is.
Yeah.
Right. I knew it. Let's face it. We live in a city with, 1.3 mil. There's always going to be somebody that's not going to do what we want them to do. They're going to do something that's impeding us. But, you can't will people to do anything.
And that's the thing. Your unhappiness at that point is in your control because they're impeding us. You can only be impeded if you allow yourself to be impeded. Right? I can only be upset if I allow myself to be upset. If somebody comes up to me and says, hey, Danny, go, F off or something, I could take that personally. That's a choice. And I could get angry about it and I can react.
It all depends on the delivery, probably.
Or I can say, that guy's having a bad day. Sucks to be him, right? There's different ways you can handle attacks or attacks on you. You understand that you can only be hurt if you allow yourself to be hurt. And when you understand that as a fact, it doesn't matter what you say. The truth is you can only be offended if you allow yourself to be offended. And it's a personal thing. It's like,
it's an attitude.
It's an attitude, right? It's like if two people argue, they're both right. They're both right. No two people that are arguing because they're both convinced they're right or they wouldn't be arguing. So it's like the world is always going to be at different odds and different opinions. Everybody's got a different opinion. Until we can come to the point where we can accept other people's opinions or other people's driving habits that's just the way it is, then we will continue to be unhappy and struggle with our surroundings because we won't have control over them. Our surroundings will have control over us, right? The only thing we have control over is us.
For sure. Okay, well, we're out of time for this one, but I think what we're going to do is a part 2, so we'll shut this down and then we'll continue on the next week. How's that sound? All right, well, that's all we got for today, so we hope that you're going to come back real soon. Take care.